There we go. Recording in progress. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday to you one more time. Sorry about missing our last meeting, but things happen in my life that are out of my control, and we just keep moving forward. But thank you for your patience and your grace. We're going to get caught back up. You should have been studying, though. Just because I wasn't able to hold a study session doesn't mean that you need to stop reading. You've got plenty to read, plenty of note cards to make. So hopefully you have been keeping up with that at least 4 hours a week. That's not a lot. Whether you want to pile it up on a Saturday, go through it by the week. But now we're getting closer. This is April, May, June, July. So you got three more. Like this is the fourth month. So we're getting a lot closer. Everything is doable, but continue to study, continue to read, continue to watch those videos. They're all going to help you out. Today we want to focus really going back into food safety. This is going to be more in domain one. This was a PowerPoint that I got to work with Lynn Stray from Point Reyes Farmstead. She helped put this together, and we presented this a couple years ago. And I think it's a beautiful packet of information. It's not going to be the most entertaining. I may have to do a cartwheel in a minute, but hang with me because I'm going to read over these with you. So it's kind of like me reading some slides. But again, we can talk about this, or if there's any questions, let me know. But this information will be on your exam. This is food safety. This is what cheesemakers have to do to open up a cheese making facility. So this is, I know it's probably going to be new for some of you. And some of you may come across as like, oh, you got to wash your hands. You got to clean your boots. Some of it seems obvious, but do pay attention to all this. And again, I will send this out in note form. Uh, Hopefully Monday afternoon is my good catch up day in the office. Um, all right, let's get to it. Let me make sure admitting a few more people. Yeah, nice. Okay, here we go, team. All right, food safety plans. So the topics we're going to cover today, and again, these are going to be on your exam. Um, you're gonna get several questions. Not you're not gonna get bombarded, but food safety is of the utmost importance of what we do in our industry. Having a common ground for a level of knowledge for food safety is one thing that I think makes CCPs important because it all puts us together at the same level. And if you're at the CCP level, you should care a lot more about food safety and making sure we're keeping our hands clean and all that and keeping our areas clean. But we're going to talk about GMPs. And also know you're going to need to know these acronyms. GMP, they may throw in the question, they might ask you what a good manufacturing practice is, but they could just put GMP in the question and you just have to know it. So, good manufacturing practices. We're going to talk about HACCP, HACCP, Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points, and HARPC, Hazard Analysis Risk Based Preventative Controls. And also, if any of you really like this stuff and are nerding out, there's jobs in this in many warehouses and factories throughout the country that if you're into this, you may love. We're going to talk about allergen program and then food defense program. And again, all of this is from the mindset of cheese maker. So, good manufacturing practices, GMPs, are a set of regulations that outline the type of action that a food processor must take to manufacture under clean conditions. It is a system for ensuring that products are consistently produced and controlled according to quality standards. That's a question. Like that can easily get turned into a question. Again, I want to send this to you, but this is something to think about. Like they could easily ask you, what is a GMP? That's basically what they're doing here by giving you the definition. Employee hygiene, appearance, and clothing. This is something that even at retail level, I've had to have
Bring that
conversations.
water
All right, let's
right
get.
now.
All right, we got that water right now. Um, but whether you're talking about a employee hygiene, excuse me, if you're talking about working in a cheese factory, or if you're talking about working in retail, I've worked with some people, and you all may have worked with some people that you may have had a tough conversation with. And as a boss, I've had a tough conversation to remind people to bathe. If you're going to work in food, you've got to smell good. There's simple things that we have to do there that isn't a fun conversation, but we got to stand by it and take pride in what the operation we're running. So employees play a big role in producing safe quality food products. Dress, appearance, and personal hygiene practices must minimize the potential for contaminating foods food contact surfaces, and food packaging materials by personnel working or entering the food manufacturing facilities. That sounds very lawyery, but I had a question about that on my exam. It was written about that, and I think it was more like producing safe quality food, so dress, appearance, and personal hygiene. I think it was presented to me in some kind of form like that, where those are the three things that were important as far as food safety with employees. Come and knock on my door. All right. Personnel working in food manufacturing and storage areas must wear appropriate outer garments to protect against contamination of foods, food contact surfaces, and food packaging materials. Again, anytime I see those questions or see these sentences with like the three nomers, so to speak, so uh, protect against contamination of food, contact surfaces, and food packaging materials. When I see something like that, I see a question easily written. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit today, but our next class, I'm going to go into more about how to write questions. So you can think about, I've done this exercise with another crew, some of you are on here today, and it was a really helpful exercise. But when I see those three things, I see that easily being a question. Clothing requirements include clothing must be clean, not torn, and must fit properly. Shirts have sleeves. All right, personal pet peeve of mine. I got on a little soapbox. You ever go out to eat and you see somebody standing over a grill and they don't have any sleeves on and the armpits is exposed? Oh, I can't handle that. I can't handle it. Okay, sorry, that was personal. But yeah, no, you gotta have sleeves. Same thing if you're traveling on an airplane, put some sleeves on, bro. Come on. The shirt snaps are kept entirely fastened, except for the top snap. No buttons allowed. Shirts must be kept tucked into pants. Pants length do not touch or drag on the floor and is no greater than 6 inches above the floor. Personal items must be kept in a separate from food production areas, and this includes wallet. All right, they're probably not going to ask you just as much about all that, but this is just good common sense. Like I go through this because during the holidays, I'll go back and help our cut team in the warehouse, and cut cheese that gets shipped out from Gourmet Dash, and it's a process I have to go through, but it's just good to see that businesses have that kind of process. Probably won't get asked too much about that though. Let's go. Jewelry is not allowed in production, packaging, or cooler areas. A plain wedding band may be permitted. Um, the following items are not allowed: earrings, bracelets, necklaces, watches, rings, nail polish. All of that is that's a good easy question for you. And rings, man, I know people like wearing wedding rings, but you can get that ring caught in something.
And keep
All
the
right, let's
others
make
in
sure
view.
everybody's on mute. Perfect. All right. Yeah, I got stories, but I'll keep it clean today. Entering the process areas. Upon entering of the plant, with the following should be applied: arrive with clean clothes, clean hair, appearance applied. Personal items are to be stored in lockers. Correct designated footwear, foot bath spray upon entering the plant. Has any of you ever visited a cheese plant or anywhere where you've had to go through like put on their boots, or you covered your feet and you washed your shoes in a foot bath? That's something, again, that goes everywhere, and that's just the mindset. I don't want to scare anybody with all these things you could get asked about, but if you've been to a facility, you should be able to go back in your mind like, I see that, I saw that happen, I saw that happen. Because this is what happens to me. It's like I'm going back to so many different dairy facilities that I've seen because I can see all this in my mind. Apply coats, wash hands, apply gloves, apply sleeves and color covers, and apply sanitizer. Also, personal note: if you're wearing gloves, it doesn't mean your hands are clean all day. You need to change your gloves, wash your hands, and put on new gloves, okay? And I'm going to say that 1,000 times. And if I've known somebody that worked in, like, they thought they had a pair of gloves on, they could eat with it, exchange money with it, and go back. You got to change your gloves and wash your hands. Okay, footwear. Sorry. Sanitizing foot baths this is what we mentioned earlier. You all have probably seen that. And sprays are to be used upon entrance to processing areas. Processing areas include creamery, packaging, and food storage. That processing areas, I think that is a better question than anything. What is a processing area? That includes your creamery, your packaging, and your food storage rooms. That I think is a great question. Lockers. You'll probably already deal with this in work life anyway. Employees will be assigned a locker upon employment. Lockers are not a place for storage of food items or beverages. You should only store clothing, purses, wallets, phones, keys, etc. But it's kind of funny. Like you think about, okay, so I just want to make cheese. There's no just I just want to make cheese. You got to be a boss. You got to have all this prepared. I think there's more time in the office than what a lot of cheesemakers really want. Hands must be washed in warm water with sanitizing soap before starting work, after using the restroom, between glove changes. See, I told you. Anytime hands become heavily soiled after handling pallets. Pallets are the most disgusting things in the world. I see people making you ever see like home shows or like do it yourself DIY, and people are making like tables and chairs out of pallets. Rats pee on that, man. It's gross. Let's see. After touching waste containers or trash, after touching face, nose, hair, this is all standard. You should have some form of this as your employees somewhere. Fingernails must be clean and trimmed so they will not collect dirt or debris. Nails are to not extend more than 3 millimeters from the tip of the finger. Acrylic nails are not allowed. Fingernail polish and coatings are prohibited when handling exposed products. Hand sanitizing. I'm getting somebody. Station must be used when provided. And here, just hand to hand washing. This is just a fun little thing that Lynn threw in. Like if you start with the right, washed hands with sanitizer. So they got this. So they touch these pastry dishes. Some washed hands, wash with soap. Some just rinse with water, and some unwashed. And if you wash your hands and use sanitizer, look at here on the right. That's beautiful. Wash with soap for just 20 seconds. Look at that. That's still you still have stuff there. Rinse with water, basically nothing, and unwashed hands, you're dirty. So this just kind of goes to show how important it is. And hope all of you wash your hands. I hope you do that. If not, please wash your hands. Employees are to know where all hand sanitizing stations are located. That's actually the first thing. Whenever I put on my IDF educational events, like in where we do our food shows across the country, one of the first things I ask the chef is where's the hand wash sink. I want to make sure, even though that whatever goes out to our guests is clean, clean, clean. Gloves. Glove must be maintained in a clean and sanitary manner at all times. Single-use gloves must be changed when soiled or damaged. It's okay to change out gloves. I hate that. I feel like a lot of our bosses want to save money, and there always seems to be a limit on gloves. I don't know if y'all have ever been through that situation. I've worked at a place where it has been, but I try to fight that. Reusable gloves must be washed and then when they become soiled and replaced. Wash hands when changing gloves. Gloves should be changed. And this could be this is probably a question too. You won't get put all of these on the answers, but gloves should be changed when? After each absence from the workstation. Anytime hands come heavily soiled. After touching the floor. After handling pallets. After touching waste containers or trash. And after touching your face, hair, nose, and other surfaces, which could microbiologically contaminate the hands. All right, nobody's asleep yet. Stay with me, team. Sleeve covers. These are fun. I've never had to wear those before. Sleeve covers are to be used anytime employees are handling open product and ingredients, making, brining, turning, cutting, sealing, washing, and scraping cheese. It gets that arm hair, protects it. Oh man, I remember when I was young, a young cheesemonger, getting balls of mozzarella delivered from the local place in New York, and several balls would have arm hair inside of it. It's like, God bless America. The things you see, it's like you can't sell that one, you can't even eat it. He's like, you gotta get rid of that. Joe, cover your arms. Um, so when to change your sleeve covers? Oh my God, everybody, change them when they're dirty. One type of product versus another. Switching from one lot to another product, leaving the workstation to go outside, take a break, smoke, eat, and use the restroom. If y'all smoke, you should stop for real. It's not good. After handling trash, after using the forklift, or when heavily soiled or dirty. Y'all should all take that to consideration when you're working inside shops as well. Think about changing your gloves and cleaning your cheese cutter. Hair restraints. Personnel working or entering manufacturing areas and or exposed product areas must use hair restraints to protect against contamination of food, food contact surfaces, and food packaging materials. I think I've heard that sentence before. And when I go through studying and somebody thinks the sentence is important enough to put in a couple of times, I pay attention. So, contamination of food, food contact surfaces, and food packaging materials. That's what we're working with hair restraints. Requirements include hair nets are required to cover and restrain all hair with no exposed forelocks of hair. Sideburns must not extend below the earlobes. Uh, Employees, visitors, and contractors with beards must wear a beard net. Okay. That's stressful, man. It's weird to think too how so nice a lot of cheesemakers are wanting you to come see their facility, but at any time, if one guest didn't do any of this, it could be detrimental to the business. Hair restraints. Look at there. Y'all have worn hair restraints before. You see improper to proper. The guy covered up his. They both covered up their ears in the proper one, left to right. Coats, lab coats are to be applied in processing areas to prevent cross contamination between employee and product. Each employee shall have a designed lab coat assigned to them. Lab coats are applied when entering processing areas, and lab coats are to be cleaned regularly, and lab coats are to be stored in a designated area. Aprons. Plastic aprons are to be applied when working in the creamery or cleaning. Aprons are to keep employees dry, prevent cross contamination between employee and product, and to protect employees from cleaning material. That sounds like a great question. What are the purpose of aprons in the cheese making room? Well, they keep employees dry, they prevent cross contamination between employee and product, and to protect the employees from cleaning chemicals. That's a great question. Aprons are to be kept clean and dipped in chlorine solution at the end of the day. Aprons are to be kept in a designated storage area. Eating and drinking, no. Eating and drinking are permitted only in designated areas such as break rooms, lunch boxes, food material, drink containers, etc. Must not be brought or stored in production, packaging, or food storage areas. Chewing gum, cough drops, hard candy, and all other food are prohibited in production, packaging, and storage areas. Seems pretty straightforward. Look at that's gross. The sneezing guy. I'm sorry, but I love that picture. Work habits: sneezing or coughing on food. Food contact equipment or packaging material is prohibited. Don't do it. You're not supposed to do it. Uh, Picture below there shows a large. Well, I changed the pictures up. I changed the directions. It's up to the left. Shows an agar plate which was sneezed on, with a drop of sanitizing solution was put in the center of the plate. Bacteria in the area not touched by the sanitizer. It grew in the area not touched by sanitizer. So sneezing, yeah. So that's kind of gross. So keep it clean, folks. Sick employees are to notify their managers and refrain from work. Now, this is one more little soapbox I got because we all work in this industry and we all get pressured to go into work when you're sick. And I hate it. You need to take care of yourself. It's okay to call in sick. I want to normalize being able to call in sick. I know we have money to make, but the chance of you getting somebody else sick or you getting sicker, I wish we didn't live in that world. So I'm going to fight for it. It's okay to be sick and be at home. Nothing wrong with that. You can still be a strong, tough man, I promise, or woman, whatever you like. Let's see. If an employee is to cut him or herself at work, he or she is to notify their manager in the QA department to ensure. Yeah, times have changed. Like I remember, I've cut myself a long time ago at work, and we were, put super glue on the cut, just keep moving forward. But working with food, and you may think you have clean blood. Blood doesn't go anywhere, folks. Keep it off. If an employee has a cut or open sore, it is to be cleaned and covered to prevent contamination from product. All employees are responsible for knowing where the first aid kits are. All right. First aid kits. If you own a business, especially with food, you should have first aid kits. There should be first aid kits wherever you work, somewhere close by. If not, bring it up to HR. Say, hey, we need to make sure we have our first aid kit needs to be refilled. It hasn't been filled in years. Traffic patterns. Follow approved traffic patterns. Do not enter work areas that are not necessary to your job functions. That's where I fail. I am nosy. Ooh, I will go up all up in your store and figure out where everything is. Like, same thing as a facility. I'm the person they have to talk to. Traffic pathways are designed work areas, and they're established to restrict and control the movement of organisms and contaminants that could cause product contamination. Sanitation equipment. Tools and utensils are color coded to distinguish food contact utensils from environmental non food contact equipment utensils and draining cleaning utensils. Sanitation tools and equipments must be clean and stored in designated areas off the floor. I think that may be a question too, but the answer is always off the floor, on hooks or hangers that are sanitary construction and do not accumulate dirt or filth. Sanitation equipment that is damaged or worn must be discarded. There we go. So you've got floors, walls, product contact. They got blue for raw milk, another brush for drains, non-processing brushes, and it just kind of shows you all the stuff you got to have. Color-coded brushes. Oh, HACCP. Okay. You'll get asked several questions about HACCP. Absolutely. Hazard analysis, critical control points. Why? Well, they minimize food safety risk. The food safety system to prevent that's what it is. It prevents hazards, and the Food Modernization Act requires a food safety program for HACCP. That is probably a question. What requires a food? What I don't know what agency, what act formed the food safety program for HACCP? The Food Modernization Act. All right, the customers require it. Hazardous analysis. Look at your process. Document a flow chart. Make an assessment and perform a hazard analysis. Find weaknesses that could lead to hazards. Once a hazard is determined, establish a critical control point to control or eliminate hazards. So this is like any spot that you have in your production that there is a chance that something could contaminate it. So like if you're pouring in jalapenos because you want to make a jalapeno cheese, at that point, that is a critical control point because you're exposing something to your original product. There's a lot of other ones too, but to me, that's just a very easy one to remember. All right. And this is probably on your exam. The three different kinds of hazards. There are three different kinds of hazards: biological, chemical, and physical. I bet you get asked this in one way or another. The three different kinds of hazards: biological, chemical, and physical. Biological, you got bacteria, molds, viruses, parasites, right? So you can sneeze. Mold could come like you got an open vat. You can sneeze in it. Mold could fall off from the air and get into it. You could have something on your hands and touch it. Chemical, antibiotics. If you don't test your milk before you're trying it, acids, chlorine. If you could be over sanitizing some of your equipment or leaving bleach or chlorine in your vat, that could do it. And then physical, small metal pieces, razors, metal twist ties. Physical, I think is I don't know. If, I've had a few. I don't know if you've bitten into anything, like a pre-made fried chicken patty or a candy, but or had a small metal bit like in a can of soda, but that happens a lot. Physical is out there. So those are the three. Just gave you a question. You're gonna pass. Okay. Examples of critical control points, not certified cheese professionals. Okay. Um, Antibiotic testing, pasteurization, 60-day rule. All right, when we pasteurize to lower the risk of biological hazards, bacteria. So pasteurization lowers the risk of biological hazards. It's biological. Think about that. Pasteurization is a way to kill the most resistant and problematic bacteria. I mentioned you're going to have to know these. I think I've mentioned it 12 times. This is the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Know what these are. LT, low temperature, long time. 145 degrees for 30 minutes. High temperature, short time. Milk is heated to 161 for 15 seconds. Ultra pasteurized milk is heated to 280 for 2 seconds. You will 100% be asked about these. No joke. I am at least one of them, at least one, but maybe all three, because pasteurization is important to us. These are pasteurizers. You're not going to get asked to describe a pasteurizer. They're not going to put one on the screen, but it's just good to kind of see what you're looking at here. Um, but left time, you got a high temperature short time pasteurizer on the left. In the middle, you've got a high temperature short time panel, and then you have a recording chart. Those are just big. You're not going to get asked how they look or anything like that. Don't worry about that. Now, HARPC. Preventative controls are part of the mandatory hazard analysis and risk based preventative control program, which stems from FSMA. The HARPC program starts with a hazard evaluation for each potential food safety hazard in the facility or process. So, processing controls, sanitation controls, food allergen controls, supply chain controls, and other. Um, they look for critical limits, monitoring who, what, when, and where. They take corrective actions and they have verification with records. Control examples are antibiotic testing, filters and screen, temperatures of pHs, and pasteurization. It's just see all these acronyms. I'm sorry, but sanitation control, your standard operating procedures, your SSOPs, micro testing, training and records, and allergen control, extremely important with facilities that are dealing with multiple food allergen ingredients. And some cheesemakers decide not to use certain ingredients just because they don't want to deal with the allergens. But allergens are coming up here in just a second. We'll talk about the specific ones and why they may be dealt with in cheese. Micro testing, verifying no cross contamination of food allergens. Supply chain control. So the supplier approval program is a letter of guarantee. You get allergen statements, third party audits, COAs, and product specifications. Know that third party audits, it is known in the industry, in many industries, that you want to have a third party audit, which means it's like I want somebody outside of my company to tell me if I'm doing something wrong so that you're not covering it up. If you just self is like old college football programs that just police themselves. Sure, we're not paying anybody. No, you got to have that third party program come in to help manage all that. All right. Allergen control programs. Point raise. What is an allergen control program? An allergen control program is company that what a company does to prevent undeclared allergens from getting into product. That sounds like a straight up question to me. An allergen control program is what a company does to prevent undeclared allergens from getting into the product. Um, Food allergy is when your immune system considers a food item a hazardous invader and causes a physical reaction when consuming that food item. That's pretty fun. Trace amounts of food can cause an allergic reaction, so you don't need much, depends on how allergic you are. And reactions may vary according to the severity of the food allergies. Here you go. I don't know if any of you have any allergies that you deal with and deal with any of these. And an allergic reaction can occur within minutes, up to 2 hours after the exposure. So that's kind of, I mean, sometimes it doesn't hit you right away. Flush skin or a rash, hives or blisters, watery eyes, headaches, nasal congestion, sneezing, coughing or wheezing, asthma, nausea, itching and tingling around the mouth. Oh my God. Swelling of lips, tongue, or mouth, dizziness or lightheaded, abdominal cramps, diarrhea or vomiting, difficulty breathing, anaphylaxis, and death. So it's big range, and that's why it's important that all of us have ingredients on our labels, and that when we're working in our cheese shop, we're also keeping it nice and clean. Um, so how can PRFCC keep customers safe from food allergens? Identification. Introduce the 8 major food items considered food allergens and identify the products that contain allergens. Prevent unknown allergens from entering the plant by monitoring incoming shipments. Prevent unknown allergens from being introduced to product by monitoring supplies and ingredients, and then locate where allergens can be found within that plant. Keep all allergens segregated to prevent cross contamination, and train your employees. All food allergens contain a product that shall be included on labels. So here we go. The U.S. Recognizes 8 food allergens that are responsible for 90% of food. This sounds like a question to me. If you see how you're reading that, there's U.S. 8 food allergens that are responsible for 90% of all food related allergies. Milk. Is that in cheese? That's the big one. Milk, eggs, wheat, soy, tree nuts, peanuts, fish, and shellfish. There are more allergens. These are the 8. These are the top 8. Okay. And then so milk. But if we all know we work in this is our industry, this is our home, this is our ground. We know that there's dairy and cheese, ice cream, yogurt, cream, pudding, butter, all good things, all everything that I love right there, especially ice cream. Oh, I love the summertime because it gives me an excuse to eat more ice cream. All right, eggs. And yes, my southern accent does make milk and eggs, two syllables each. You get into baked goods, some noodles, some breaded food, some candy, some donuts, frosting, mayonnaise. There's also a form of egg whitewash on some cheese. I believe Piave. I gotta get my head back around it, and hopefully I'll look up the name of it. But there is a chance that there could be an egg wash, like the egg whites are used as a wash on it.
Oh,
All right, wheat. I love cheese with stickers that say no gluten. It just makes me laugh. But unless you put something in your cheese, it is gluten free. But bread, pasta, cereals, chips, crackers, tortillas, baked goods. Also, that is one of the reasons for my personal plumpness is I love bread and pasta. Oh my God, so good. Soybeans, edamame, soy sauce, soy milk, tofu, miso. We got all that. Tree nuts. So you don't really mess around with nuts. Almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, hazel. I feel like you've ever seen that dog show or Best in Show movie where it's like guys just talking about all the nuts, almond nuts, Brazil nuts, hazel, macadamia, pecan, pine nuts, pistachios. I love pecans. So this also means like, and this is good for learning. Yeah, we're going to take a test on it, but also think about how this applies to wherever you work. Many of you know, I know, are cheesemongers. And sometimes we want to pull up our perfect pairings, and sometimes we want some crushed almonds or something on it. Just remember that as you're, whatever you're doing behind your counter, you have the possibility to cross contaminate other items. So keep it clean and maybe keep certain areas for certain items. Peanuts. Also, I love some peanuts. Those are good but highly allergic. And then fish. And I don't think we have to worry a lot about fish, but Worcestershire sauce, you got a real Worcestershire has fermented fish in it. And shellfish. All right, we don't deal with a lot of shellfish, so that's great. Prevention, monitoring of incoming goods. Suppliers providing ingredients are required to have an allergen control program. Suppliers are required to notify us if any allergens in their products have a program of contamination of undeclared allergens. The shipping and receiving department checks incoming packages for damages, leaks, spills, etc. before allowing them to enter the facility. Labels of incoming goods are checked to ensure contents are approved by PRFCC. So that's what Point Raised does. It's like these are all the steps. I was like, damn, gum, Lynn, y'all do a lot of work there. Separate storage area for allergens to prevent undeclared allergens from getting into product. The following is to be applied. Food is not allowed in production or package areas. Know where your allergens are stored. The fork kitchen and storage area shall be separate from packaging. Packaging equipment and personnel are not allowed to enter into these areas. Break rooms, employee food stores, are separate for production and packaging areas. It's even like when mail comes in or they're getting a package, they open it in one room and then you don't take the box that's been out, like, in trucks and everything. You don't take that into your production area. You have to take the ingredients out. And all employee food is to be stored in a break room. Processing errors or oversight with allergens, poor cleaning of shared equipment. Boom. I live by saying that. Non allergen containing products run after allergen containing products, resulting in cross contact. Keep your stuff clean. Use of rework, switching of ingredients, and not following up with an allergen assessment for new ingredients. Labeling terms, using common or incorrect terminology for the top 8 allergens. Make sure you call it what it is. Here you go. This is a while back. I need to get some more modern info, but it's usually on average. For 2016, there were 764 food recalls, a 22% surge compared to 2015. I need to look that up and see what's happening more. Two of the main culprits were undeclared allergens. Labeling. The government requires that food items made, sold, and distributed in the U.S. are to include the ingredients and allergens they contain on the label. You will get asked at least one question about labeling, at least one. Undeclared allergens due to mislabeling account for 60% of recalls in the U.S. All these products are labeled with ingredients and allergens they contain. Checks are to be made periodically to ensure products are accurately labeled. And there we go. We've seen all this. All PRFCC products have labels declaring they contain the allergen milk. You do not want undeclared allergens that are not included on the label in these products. All right. Food defense policy. Look at those little ladies. They're so sweet. What is a food defense policy? A food defense plan is what is done to prevent a person or group from intentionally contaminating food products with harmful substances or objects. Yeah, we live in a crummy time. People will attack other people in different ways in this world. And one of the biggest ways to really get to a lot of people is to contaminate food. So, besides having to worry about keeping your place clean, how to sell product, how to market it, how to hire employees, you also have to make sure you have a food defense plan. Make sure that you're watching over this so somebody will not intentionally hurt other people. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration's Office of Regulatory Affairs and its food defense terms, an acronym list defines food defense as the collective term used by the FDA, USDA, DHS, and etc. to encompass activities associated with protecting the nation's food supply from terrorist activities. I mean, I didn't know I'd have to be talking about this kind of stuff when working in cheese, but it's something that you have to be aware of. You have to be cognizant. On October 10th, in 2003, the FDA issued Section 305 of the Bioterrorism Act that required domestic and foreign facilities that manufacture, process, pack, or hold food for human and animal consumption in the United States register with the FDA. Not the worst thing. The FDA requires that manufacturers are responsible for producing safe, wholesome, and truthfully labeled food products. It's a violation of the law to introduce into interstate commerce unadulterated or misbranded products. I still think we need more food labeling laws. That's me personally. I think we should know where our meat, our cheese, everything comes from. Examples of intentional contamination: 1978 in Israel, oranges contaminated with mercury. 1984 in Oregon, salmonella put in a salad bar. 1984 St. Louis, cookies contaminated with needles. 2002 China, rat poison found in fast food. In 2003 Michigan, nicotine in ground beef. Probably look up more. Those are gross. Those are horrible. Um, I like to think about that. That's why I like to cook my own food. Y'all ever get that way? It's like, I'll just cook it myself and it's going to be okay. My daughter's not eating that junk. Um, Types of intentional contamination: EMA, economically motivated adulteration. That's going to be the name of my first album. Deliberate alteration for economic gain. So you can like sabotage it. You can like sabotage disgruntled employees. Messing with the company reputation. Sabotage, I think, has to do with a lot. Disgruntled people and terrorism cause wide scale public health hazard. It's scary, but that's why you want people who work in processing facilities to take their job seriously. That's why I always go through, no matter what your job is, it matters. There's something really important that you take care of that keep people safe and happy and alive. And you should be able to take pride in that. All right. The food defense monitor non-employee traffic. So that's the thing too. If you got people coming in, if you're doing tours, who the hell you know is coming in your tour? Like while walking through your facility. Processing area protection, employees, and reporting. We're getting there. Hang on. I don't even know what time it is. Look at there, giving a time check. Oh, we got plenty of time. Um, that's why you sign in. I've signed into a lot of places. Sign in company. Um, let's say they're not to enter processing areas, pack rooms, or creamery or cold storages. There's off limits, and are to be accompanied by an employee at all times. It's weird how I've been in the industry long enough to see people not care to now go overboard, which is good, which means our food's safer. Non employees that come onto your property, contract workers. People looking at your air conditioner units, your plumbers. Um, I see they shall be easily be identified by their badge, work in designated areas, supervised at all times, and follow the company's general or good manufacturing practices. Photos are not to be taken by visitors. That's up to the company. Some people want to keep their information safe, or they don't just want you to take pictures of the back of the house. Disney, I've worked on some Disney properties before doing cheese events, and they will not let you take a photograph anything at the back of the house. Excuse me. All right, limited access due to locked doors and key code access. We all got this. They're not going to ask you about a key code on your test. Not worried about that. Chemicals are not easily accessible due to locked doors. You got to lock up your chemicals. We know that. Um, processing product. Product is packaged in tamper evident packaging material. Outgoing product is inspected prior to releasing to customers. Shipping and receiving. One area, easy to monitor to load and unload shipments. Suppliers and customers are to be pre-approved and identified before dropping off or picking up the loads. Um, and then S&R logs are used to keep track of supplier and customer traffic. Incoming and outgoing items are inspected and vehicles are inspected. This is that's general, but I don't think that's so much a test question for you. Employee practices, sign a confidentiality agreement upon hire, train on food defense, and employees use entrances that require a key code. All right. Company attire should be worn to easily identify employees. That's pretty simple. We all do that in our life. All right. Examples of what to report. If you got a strange load of items left on the loading dock, you better watch out. Examples of what to report. Newly received ingredients that are opened or contaminated with unusual items. And what to do. If any suspicious behavior is observed, employees are to report it to their manager immediately. PRFCC employees are to notify managers if suspicious behavior by contract workers, and the employees are to notify manager if a visitor is unattended in restricted areas. And if an employee finds any ingredient or product that shows evidence of tampering, they are to report it to their manager as soon as possible. Report it to your manager, right? And thank you. All right, so let's go here. I'm gonna find out what time we have. 45 minutes. I'm gonna keep going a little bit. We've only been here for 45 minutes. Um, so now I want to talk to you about pathogens of concern. You are absolutely going to have these on your exam, and you probably have read about them a couple times, and hopefully you have some flashcards. Again, I'm gonna put these on notes, so you'll get these notes from me. Pathogens of concern. What do we care about? So, why is this important to us? Milk can be a significant source of foodborne pathogens, and it can be. And milk and cheese, for some reason, I feel like gets a much worse rap, out there. Like, oh, it's unhealthy, or you're going to get sick from it. It seems like whenever there's a cheese recall, it's a much bigger deal than like lettuce, although lettuce can kill people too. Um, but it's important to us because it can be significant foodborne pathogens. There's a moral obligation. We don't want anybody sick. It doesn't matter what you believe, where you come from, but our goal here is to protect people and keep them safe. That's what we should all be working towards. And foodborne illness is bad for business. Of course it is. But to me, it's more about somebody's life. I want somebody to live and be healthy. If I'm providing food to somebody, I want them to receive nourishment and health. That's it. All right. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, document a guidance for FDA staff compliance policy that covers federal policies and recommendations concerning pathogens. So the FDA deals with pathogens. Illnesses associated with dairy products include, and I'm probably not going to say everything right, so don't make fun of me, but you got salmonella, hemorrhagic colitis, listeria, staphylococcal, food poisoning, botulism, and Yersinia. So you get a lot of stuff that's going to be out there. Illnesses may be caused by infections, organism, or a toxin produced by that organism. So here you go. This is basically this should be like a flashcard for you. So listeria, found in soil, water, floor drains, freezers, processing rooms, floor mats, foot baths, and conveyor belts. Basically everywhere. Psychotrophic. Remember when we talked about this word? It can grow under refrigeration. Can live in processing environment for years. An illness can occur as sporadic or large outbreaks, can be killed by pasteurization, able to form a biofilm protecting it from sanitizers and cleaning agents. This is stuff you're going to need to know. They will all of this is fair game for them to ask you about listeria. And I'm not gonna lie, this kind of confused me when I was taking the test because sometimes you got a lot of different one's a bacteria, one's a virus, what do they cause, how quick, but it's something you may have to study. I had to study a little bit more than I studied like cheese, to be honest with you. Typically found in people with low or compromised immune systems, like infants, pregnant adults, or the elderly. Symptoms of listeria. This literally could be a question too. I got asked this. Flu-like symptoms, fever, muscle aches, headache, meningitis, miscarriage, stillbirth, premature delivery, or death. Oh, it's horrible. All right, E. coli right here. Most stains, it should be strains of E. coli, do not cause illness. 0157 colon H7 is found in the intestinal tract of feces of cattle and can live in healthy cattle. Contaminated animal drinking water is believed to be the probable source of infection, can be killed with pasteurization. Undercooked ground beef and unpasteurized milk are the carriers of E. coli. That is big. So, raw milk, E. coli. How would I remember that? E. coli. Sorry, thinking of unpasteurized milk. That's going to be important for you. Symptoms can include bloody and non-bloody diarrhea, abdominal cramps, uh, the hemolytic syndrome. Oh my God, kidney failure and death. So it's a big deal. Now, what they're not going to do, they're not going to put they're not going to try to misspell E. coli or put E. coli 1578 colon H7. It's just going to show up like that. So they're not going to trick you there, but you do need to know uh, about diarrhea and abdominal cramps and kidney failure. Salmonella. Now, there are several strands here. You got your most common here found in the intestinal tract of warm-blooded animals, including humans. Causes illness that can develop 12 to 72 hours after exposure and last 4 to 7 days. Can be killed by pasteurization. So that's something like there could be a question on your exam that goes, what food pathogens can be killed by pasteurization? And you'll need to be able to put salmonella, E. coli, uh, keep those going. Commonly passed on to individuals who have not washed their hands after the bathroom. Doo doo hands is what we call them. And that's where you're going to get salmonella. That's gross. That's why you always clean, clean, clean. Um, so, uh, possesses the resistance of multiple antibiotics. Symptoms of salmonella include diarrhea, abdominal cramps, fever, headaches, constipation, vomiting, and some strands can be fatal. So here too, you got to realize illnesses that can develop 12 to 72 hours. People often think they get uh, food poisoning like right after they eat. People say, "Oh, well, I just had some chicken, I'm sick." You got to wait. I mean, real foodborne illnesses can happen much later, 12 to 72 hours after eating. It's crazy. Campylobacter, found in the intestinal tract, udder, and feces of the cattle, in poultry and wild birds, and contaminated water sources. The most common cause of diarrhea illness in the United States. Okay. Causes illness 2 to 5 days after exposure. You see, like you don't know, like if you go through the last place you ate, it's probably not where you got it. Uh, let's see. And then can be killed by pasteurization. So you think about why do a lot of cheesemakers choosing to pasteurize their milk? They're not going to give anybody all this. Um, Symptoms: bloody and non-bloody diarrhea, abdominal pain, cramping, nausea, vomiting, fever, muscle pain. Sounds less like death, more like hell. All right. Prevention. Pathogens in a dairy product can indicate poor sanitation, temperature abuse, inadequate pasteurization, fermentation failure, and or obtaining milk from diseased animals. I'm just going to slow that down and read it one more time. Pathogens in a dairy products can indicate poor sanitation, temperature abuse, inadequate pasteurization, fermentation failure, and or obtaining milk from diseased animals. Those are five solid ways that pathogens get into your milk. Lack of sanitary practices or inadequate processing conditions may contaminate the raw milk and dairy products made from that milk. While pasteurization of raw milk is lethal to pathogens, post pasteurization contamination is a risk that must still be prevented through good manufacturing practices and other programs. Nice. What is HACCP? HACCP, Hazardous Analysis and Critical Control Points. Uh, HACCP is a critical examination of the entire food manufacturing process to determine every step where there is a possibility of physical, chemical, or microbiological contamination of the food in which would render it unsafe and unacceptable for consumption. I think that's the second time we've hit that definition. It's a beautiful definition, the best definition. Seven basic steps to a HACCP plan. One, conduct a hazard analysis. Two, identify critical control points. Three, establish critical limits for critical control points. Four, establish monitoring procedures for critical control points. Five, establish corrective action. And six, establish a verification procedures. And seven, establish a record system. They may get this specific with you on the exam. The HACCP plan is so important that they could get this specific with you on this information. All right. What is HARPC? Hazard Analysis and Risk Based Preventative Controls. Addresses the core intent of the Food Safety Modernization Act to identify hazards that might arise due to specific food and ingredients in the food or due to various processing, manufacturing, packaging, and holding steps applied to the food. All right, and again, continue. HARPC approach combines critical control points and prerequisite programs under the single moniker, preventative controls. Science or risk-based preventative controls rather than critical control points are required under this, and it does not distinguish critical control points from other types of preventative controls. Oh my God, it's a lot. The biggest impact of the ramped up regulation is that cheesemakers will be expected to have a wider range of written procedures and documentation. Preventative controls cover five key areas: process controls, food allergen controls, sanitation controls, supply chain controls, and recall plan. That's a good question. That's a good, that's a good, you can turn that into a question in a couple different ways. The preventative controls are part of a mandatory HARPC program, and preventative controls should be documented and regularly audited. I know at the end of it, I always think it's got to be documented and audited. All right, that was a lot, right? I'm going to stop there because that is a buttload of information. Like I said, thank you for your grace and patience. I'm going to get this video along with the previous video updated, sent to a link. I'm going to get the notes from this PowerPoint also sent out to you in a link so you can read it and go back over it because this is something that's really important. I know today wasn't a fun haha cheese day, but these are things that are very important for the test, and you will get asked, I'm going to say, at least 10 to 15 questions from today. This information is highly important. So what I'm going to do, one second, my sweet friends.